You are a real piece of shit if you believe I have taken your money.
Imagine waking up to find your life savings gone. A digital empire built on a promise of wealth, now nothing but a digital ghost town. This is the story of HyperVerse, a crypto empire that once promised financial freedom but ended in disaster, leaving behind shattered dreams and missing billions.
You destroyed your dream when you stopped believing in me!
At the heart of it all was Sam Lee, a man who once stood on stages championing the future of blockchain, rubbing shoulders with celebrities, and telling thousands that they had picked the right horse. Investors believed him, governments not so much. But was HyperVerse just another unfortunate failure in the volatile world of crypto, or was it something much, much darker? An elaborate scam orchestrated from the shadows? To answer that, we need to dive deep into the rise and fall of HyperVerse, the network of deceit surrounding it, and the unanswered question, where did the money go? And perhaps the most chilling part, Sam Lee isn't done yet. Even after HyperVerse crumbled, he launched new schemes in places with no extradition treaties, dodging authorities while starting fresh ventures. Today, we uncover the full truth, how it started, how it collapsed, and why the man behind it all is still free. It all began with a vision, or at least that's what investors were led to believe. HyperVerse, originally known as Hyperfund, was introduced as a revolutionary concept in the crypto space. It wasn't just another cryptocurrency, it was an ecosystem, a metaverse, a financial revolution that promised to change how people earned and stored wealth. The pitch was simple yet incredibly enticing. Invest your money today and in return receive 300% guaranteed returns over time. All powered by a cutting-edge decentralized blockchain system. The mastermind behind it all was Sam Lee, a man who quickly became the face of this ambitious project. He wasn't just some unknown figure, he presented himself as a blockchain pioneer, a fintech revolutionary, and a thought leader in the crypto world. He claimed to have co-founded Blockchain Global, a major player in the cryptocurrency industry, and positioned himself as an authority figure on decentralized finance. Investors were drawn to his confidence, his articulate speeches, and his grand vision of a financial system free from traditional banking restrictions. Adding even more credibility to HyperVerse was the high-profile endorsements that surfaced. One of the most striking endorsements came from Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak, who appeared in promotional material seemingly vouching for the project. The association made HyperVerse appear legitimate, convincing even skeptical investors that they were getting involved in something backed by industry giants. Sam Lee's strategy was simple: make HyperVerse look like an exclusive once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He and his team ran massive online seminars, hyped up the concept of financial freedom, and filled social media with testimonials from people who claimed they had already seen life-changing profits. For many, though, it felt like stepping into the ground floor of the next Bitcoin revolution. The energy was infectious. The opportunity was too good to pass up. Every Saturday, leadership calls were held, where as many as 900 people at a time gathered online to hear motivational talks from key HyperVerse figures. The calls felt more like a religious movement than an investment opportunity. People became emotionally invested, believing they were part of some historic financial shift. Sam Lee positioned himself not just as an entrepreneur, but as a visionary, someone who was leading the charge toward a better financial future. HyperVerse was growing at an unstoppable rate, pulling in millions of dollars daily. It seemed like a foolproof system, a self-sustaining money machine. But there was one problem. HyperVerse wasn't selling actual cryptocurrency. It was selling membership packages, promising returns that, as some would later discover, were never actually generated through legitimate blockchain investments. HyperVerse wasn't just an ambitious crypto project, it was a carefully constructed illusion, designed to look legitimate while hiding a dark secret underneath, and that secret was about to unravel. As HyperVerse gained traction, its growth became unstoppable. Investors flooded in from all over the world, eager to be part of what they believed was the future of finance. The platform had all the elements of a high-profile success story, massive online events, slick marketing, and an ever-growing community that promoted it like a financial revolution. By late 2021, HyperVerse was being marketed as a metaverse project, one that promised users the ability to interact, trade, and earn within a decentralized digital world. It wasn't just an investment anymore, it was an entire ecosystem where participants could buy digital assets, stake crypto, and earn passive income through a futuristic financial system. The promises only got bigger. One of the key factors that kept HyperVerse alive was its multi-level marketing MLM structure. Investors weren't just encouraged to put in their own money, they were incentivized to bring in more people. The more referrals someone had, the more rewards they supposedly earned. The structure created an unstoppable chain reaction, where people aggressively promoted HyperVerse to their friends, families, and even strangers, convinced that they were offering them a chance at financial freedom. Some investors went all in, believing that they had finally found the opportunity of a lifetime. People began taking loans, cashing in their savings, and even selling their homes to invest more money. The mindset was simple: invest now and soon you'll be rich beyond your wildest dream. To maintain credibility, HyperVerse staged elaborate online conferences featuring Sam Lee and other key figures. They spoke with confidence, talking about technological breakthroughs, future partnerships, and endless opportunities within the HyperVerse ecosystem. Every word was calculated, designed to reinforce the idea that this was not a scam, but a revolutionary movement backed by real tech. But while HyperVerse was promising financial freedom, something sinister was happening behind the scenes. The system depended entirely on new money constantly coming in. Early investors were paid out using funds from newer investors, creating a Ponzi-style structure that could only sustain itself as long as more people kept joining. And then there was Stephen Reese Lewis, the supposed CEO of HyperVerse. He appeared in promotional videos and company announcements, presenting himself as the visionary leader behind the project. There was just one problem: he wasn't even real. Investigators later discovered that he was a paid actor, a completely fabricated figure with no real connection to the crypto world. Despite these warning signs, HyperVerse continued to expand aggressively. People ignored the red flags, convinced that they had found a legitimate way to build wealth. For those who had invested heavily, there was only one thing they feared: that the dream might come crashing down. By early 2022, the cracks in HyperVerse's foundation had become too large to ignore. Investors who had once bragged about their returns were now struggling to withdraw their money. Support channels that had previously been active and responsive suddenly went silent. Transactions that were supposed to be processed in days began taking weeks, then months. At first, those inside the HyperVerse community dismissed concerns as mere technical issues. Leaders reassured investors that everything was fine, that the system was just experiencing temporary delays. Many continued to believe, even as their accounts remained frozen. The cult-like belief in Sam Lee and his vision was so strong that people defended the platform, attacking critics who dared question its legitimacy. But behind closed doors, something much darker was happening. The entire financial structure of HyperVerse was built on constant new investments. Money from new members was being used to pay the returns of older members, a classic Ponzi scheme. As soon as the flow of new investors slowed down, the system collapsed in on itself. By mid-2022, withdrawals had stopped entirely. Investors were locked out of their accounts. Their funds vanished into thin air. For many, the realization was devastating. People had lost their entire life savings, their retirement funds, their children's college tuition. Stories of individuals who had invested everything they had, only to be left with nothing. One of the hardest hit victims was Rupert Honeywood, a tech enthusiast who had initially been drawn to the promise of decentralized wealth. Convinced that HyperVerse was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, he had poured his life savings into the platform, believing he would soon be able to pay off his mortgage and retire comfortably. Instead, he found himself trapped in a nightmare. Within weeks of making his largest investment, he received a tip-off from insiders. Withdrawals were about to stop, and the operation was on the verge of collapse. Desperate for answers, Rupert tried to reach out to HyperVerse leaders, but they were nowhere to be found. His heart sank when he discovered that the so-called CEO, Stephen Reese Lewis, was a fraud, an actor playing a role in one of the biggest financial deceptions in crypto history. It took Rupert days to accept what had happened, and even longer to break the news to his wife, who was also devastated. Authorities around the world started taking notice. The US Securities and Exchange Commission launched an official investigation, declaring HyperVerse as an illegal Ponzi scheme. Regulators accused the company of misleading investors, making false promises of guaranteed returns, and operating without any real blockchain-based revenue source. The promised metaverse that investors had been sold, it never truly existed. With billions missing and the legal noose tightening, the world turned its attention to the man at the center of it all, Sam Lee. But when investigators went looking for him, they made a shocking discovery. Sam Lee had vanished. When authorities and investors went looking for Sam Lee, they found he had disappeared without a trace. No public statements, no explanations, just complete radio silence. HyperVerse had collapsed, but Sam Lee was nowhere to be found. As panic spread, investigators began following the money. Tracing transactions and corporate records, they discovered something alarming. Sam Lee had fled to Dubai. And he wasn't alone. Many of the key figures behind HyperVerse had also relocated, taking advantage of Dubai's complex financial system and loose regulations on crypto businesses. For years, Dubai had been attracting controversial figures in the crypto world, partly due to its lack of extradition agreements with countries like the US, UK, and Australia. It was a financial playground for those looking to rebuild after their previous schemes fell apart, and Sam Lee wasted no time in doing just that. Only 8 months after leaving Australia, he resurfaced in Dubai, and he had a brand new business. Not just one, but multiple. First came Hyper One, a suspiciously similar project to HyperVerse. Then We Are All Satoshi, an investment scheme that was later hit with a cease and desist order from California authorities for being a pyramid and Ponzi scheme. Investigators and journalists uncovered a disturbing pattern. Sam Lee wasn't just moving on from HyperVerse, he was using the same money from previous victims to fund new scams. HyperVerse investors had lost everything, but the man responsible for their losses was already collecting money from new investors. This wasn't just fraud, it was crypto-style money laundering. Moving funds from one failed project into the next, keeping the cycle going. Despite mounting allegations, Sam Lee denied everything. In rare appearances, he claimed that the HyperVerse's failure was not his fault. shifting the blame to regulators and market conditions. When confronted with accusations of running a Ponzi scheme, he insisted that authorities simply did not understand crypto. In his mind, he was a visionary, a misunderstood pioneer being targeted by governments that feared the rise of decentralized finance. Then, in 2024, something unexpected happened. Sam Lee was finally detained in Dubai. Authorities, pressured by international regulators, arrested him after an Interpol Red Notice was issued. For many, it seemed like justice was finally catching up to him. But the celebration did not last long. Within 60 days, Sam Lee was released. He was free to continue his business as usual. Despite the overwhelming evidence against him, the complexities of international law and Dubai's financial system meant that authorities in other countries could not extradite him. For victims of HyperVerse, it was the ultimate insult. They had lost billions, but the man responsible was still free, already working on his next move. The collapse of HyperVerse wasn't just another crypto failure. It was one of the largest financial scandals in the history of digital currency. What started as a promising opportunity turned into a global nightmare, with billions lost and thousands of investors left in financial ruin. The truth is, HyperVerse is just one of many. The crypto space has become a breeding ground for scams disguised as innovation, where slick marketing and celebrity endorsements can lure in unsuspecting investors. The victims of HyperVerse may never see their money again, and for now, Sam Lee remains untouchable. But there's one question that should concern all of us. How many more HyperVerses will rise before the world catches up? How many more people will be left devastated before real action is taken against these modern-day financial pioneers? Because if history has taught us anything, it's that scammers don't stop when one scheme collapses. They move on to the next. And unless something changes, there will always be another HyperVerse, another Sam Lee, and another wave of victims. The only real question is, who will be next? If you thought HyperVerse was shocking, wait until you see how Sam Bankman-Fried went from crypto king to convicted fraudster. Click here to watch the shocking collapse of Sam Bankman-Fried's crypto empire and uncover the full story behind one of the biggest financial scandals in history.